The journey of Z181 continues. At the moment, it's come from Corey's loving hands building it in the center of Joburg through many paths and is here in the Scribanti workshop. One of the stops on those journeys, or in the future, is going to be where, Dennis Klopper?
Well, this car is going to Goodwood as soon as Cobus has finished it. And it's all part of the journey. This is such an iconic car. I think probably for me, this is probably the most famous South African race car.
I've got to stop you there just for a minute. You say this car is going for Goodwood. You stand here with two hats on, one with a Goodwood hat on and one as a younger boy of the 70s having listened to this thunder at Kyalami. So talk to us about the relationship you have with Goodwood.
Well, can I touch on my relationship with the car first?
Cars are always...
I've got this 8mm cine of this car's first race. I was standing at Crowthorne Corner. I was 10 years old, not even. And I've got that, which I'll give to Franco at the right time, of this car coming down the main straight with the Alpha, which I'm passionate about, way back. And by the first lap, there was no one else. And that's left such a mark on me that day, to the point that I was determined to get involved in motorsport in Kyalami, and I did. And it was this car features in our Kyalami book, and it's such an iconic car. Giorgio was one of my closest friends, so there's so many links to this car. And honestly, I can say this car's in the right hands with Franco. There is no one else, and I said that to him, that deserves and can do with this car what is justified. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Now Goodwood, your link with Goodwood.
So in 2019, we organized Festival of Motoring. I was the content manager for the event, which means we bring all the right content to draw the people to draw the crowds. And we had a link with Goodwood. Will Kinsman, who's the content head of Goodwood, came to South Africa, and it was my task to find 10 iconic race cars to form a presentation of these cars. And I contacted all the people that I know. Lance Vogel brought the Zack Speed. Paolo brought the 745. I got hold of, always get hold of Franco, and they bought the Gunston Chevron. And we had an Alpha there and a XR. We had all the iconic South African cars. And then I'd heard that Lee had bought the car, so I phoned him, and he was not keen to bring the car. But through Franco, I don't know how you did it, you convinced him to bring the car to the show. And that Friday evening, we had a dinner, and at that dinner, Will Kinsman was going to come tell me which of the 3 cars he wants at Goodwood. And the first one he said is Z181, which was a big relief, because, oh, well, that was one of my choices. Obviously, I also have a close relationship with Lance and Paolo. And both those cars, the Zack Speed was invited, and Paolo's 745. And the Zack Speed went in 219, 220, I'm losing track of time, apologies. The Zack Speed did go. We did a whole book on the journey. Paolo is taking the BM next year, and maybe we can all go together. And Lee, I phoned Lee, and he didn't seem overly keen. But the invite's there. It's not an invite that is like once off. Once you get an invite, you get an invite. And once you've got that Goodwood sticker on the car, this car becomes world famous. And Goodwood look for new content. They're looking for unique cars, and South Africa is such a source of unique cars. So we will be taking a few to Goodwood, and this one is going to blow them away, because I don't think many people really know of this car and how important it is.
I mean, the Europeans, they know of the Capri with a 3-liter Cologne Capri, and that was their big thing. But this thing was a little bit different.
There is a few floating around in Europe claiming to be the originals, but this is the original. You know, and Corey, you know, so nice to meet him, and he's going to help Cobus rebuild this car to the way it should be, and get it back to spec. We've got so much period information on the car in terms of programs, all the history, the photographs, and that will all make up the story, because ultimately when a car goes to Goodwood, it's not just about the car, it's about the story of the car.
Provenance.
So we'll create the story of this car, not with just people's memories, but actual documentation. And you helped me with some of that the other day. So that's part of the rebuilding process. It's not just rebuilding the car, it's recreating the car's history.
So the guy with the toughest task, Quivers, you've built some pretty cool cars. But I think this is going to be the coolest car that you're ever going to build.
So I need to tell you the story first. Uncle Colin Franco came to me about 2 months ago, and he was on about this car. And after the third time, he tells me something, then I need to start doing my homework, which I did, and I actually realized how iconic this car was and what happened back in the day. And my first quest was to get hold of somebody that can tell me more about this car. And that's how I eventually recognized that Basil is not here anymore, and I phoned Willie, and Willie told me Corey built the car. So I struggled to get hold of Corey, and eventually in the week I did, and I couldn't get hold of him after that, and I went through his Facebook and doing some things there, and I found out where he's staying, and this morning I went there, and they didn't want to let me in. And eventually I convinced the lady there. I said to him, listen, this old man that's staying here is a legend. He built this car back in the day. She said to me that, you won't believe me, a week ago he started telling people about this. And I said, wow. And he said, I asked her, please can I see him? If he doesn't want to see me and I'm bothering him, I will leave. I won't bother you guys again. And she led me into a breakfast room where he was sitting. And as I walked in there, Uncle Corey was sitting there with his Ray-Bans on. And I said, this is my man. And I knew it was him. And the feeling that I had by meeting him for the first time and knowing what he's about. And he let me in straight away and we started talking. I think that's what's making the story much more memorable for me, and I think the whole team would be being a part of this from everybody's side, being a part of it, doing what they did back in the day, trying to get it back to where it was back in the day. For us, it's a big honor, Uncle Colin, but it's a big task, that's for sure.
This is more than just about a car. You know, just seeing the emotions that are running quite high here today. It's more than just a car. It's a bringing together of people in respect out of, well, for the car. But it's the emotions of all the people. I'm absolutely blown away. Corey, you haven't changed your mind yet, have you?
Not at all. No, I'll never will.
They'll build a special room here for you. You can come and live here. Get the smell of petrol again.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Franco, let's wrap this portion up because I think that there's many. Next time, I hope to see the insides of the car when it's in bits and pieces. You haven't changed your mind about the task ahead? It's getting bigger. It's getting more important.
No, we haven't. This is what we do. This is what we love. Yeah. This is what we do. This is what we love, Colin. So, no, not at all. It's pure enjoyment for us.
Dennis, thank you very much for coming. Make sure that Goodwood seat is booked, eh?
No, it will be. I think this car's about memories. So many people remember it, and people love memories. That reminds them of the good days. It just stirs emotion and passion, and that's what it's all about.
Emotion, passion, sounds and smells, and pictures in the head of years gone by. This thing, these people, this team will bring back that for me and for many more. Thanks for joining us.